Alright guys, welcome back to the last installment of this round of taking a look at Kotobukiya M.S.G option parts. This is the Modeling Support Goods 08 or EX08 special gold edition of the Battle Lance here. So this is just once again going to have a couple different option parts. You can see on that you have this kind of extra part that you can make. But what's pretty cool about this weapon is that it actually does have a different color other than gray in it. For once we have some gold in there, as you can see on the C runner there, it looks like. Let's go around here onto the back and you can see a breakdown of everything that's included. So you have a few different parts there for the lance and the handle and the extended handle for that. So you have some different options as usual. And here it is an example with a frame arms girl kit with the Jinrai. And then down here with the hexagear kit with one of the hexagear governors. So you can see it's going to be very large compared to one of those because they're pretty small. And then over here with the stylet, so you can see just with the frame arms kit there. So typically, as usual, these are going to be meant a little bit more tailored towards frame arms and frame arms girls, Kotobukiya weapons for Kotobukiya kits, obviously, but you can use them as we've seen with different gunpla kits as well. It's just going to be a matter of modifying or making any modifications to the handle if you need be, and then just matching up the size to make sure that's going to look appropriate for whatever kit you're going to be using it for. So on the inside of the cover here we have the instructions. So there's just the instructions how to build that, and how it shows how to build the different optional parts for that. And then it looks like we've just got 3 runners in here, and even aside from the gold being obviously sort of metallic gold, the other runners here look like they're also in a sort of metallic color. So the A runner here, for example, RW008, is in this metallic dark brownish gray color, so it's got that kind of cool gunmetal look to it. Runner B as well for some of the handle parts and some of the larger parts you can see on here, runner B. And then runner C is going to be our gold parts. You can see the main tip of the lance is going to be one solid piece, that's nice, but the larger part will be 2 halves with a seam line down the side of there. So we'll see how that looks when it all comes together, but the gold does look pretty nice. So I'm going to go ahead and get this snapped together, and then we'll see how it looks on a few different examples. Alright, and here's how the Battle Lance is going to look when it all comes together. A very cool looking weapon. I think the gold and the gunmetal just make this, even just straight out of the box, make it look very cool just as a weapon. So no matter what you're going to end up using this for, I think this is going to be a very versatile weapon you're going to be able to use with a lot of different things. And just the different option parts in here, although there are really only like a few of them, they do add a lot of different variety in terms of what you can do with this. So we'll see all that in a moment, but straight out of the box, I think it is looking pretty good. You do have some lot of details in there that I think would look better if you just went in and painted in some of the details. You've got a seam line down the middle part of the lance, the lower part of the gold and not the pointed part, the 2 halves there. You have the seam line, and then the nub marks on the gold are going to be pretty obvious, as anytime you have injected plastic like that, the nub marks are just going to be pretty unavoidable. So definitely painting that is going to be your best option, although straight out the box it doesn't look terrible. It's going to look much better once you get that sanded and painted. See what different modeling support goods we have in stock there, and you can save 10% off everything using the coupon code there's ZakuAurelius10. So let's get into looking at the options here. Alright, so just as it is, before we get into the optional parts, let me just show you a couple things that it does. The main handle here will move up and down a little bit. That can move up and down like that. So it's not really going to be too functional, but it can do that anyway. You can, of course, also just remove the long staff part of the handle there, and if you just wanted it to be attached onto the arm like that, just the handle with this just attached onto the arm as it is. Also, this shield part here on the side is on this articulated arm, so you're actually able to move that out. You're able to swing that out like that. You can move that, just changing the angle of it. You can also rotate that, or so you can just have some different options in how you wanted to pose that shield on there. You can also put this on either the left or the right side here, as just so you have that peg hole there on both sides. So if you wanted to have this on the left side or right side, you get 2 of these and dual wield, one for the left, one for the right, whatever you wanted to do with that. And if you take this apart using one of these pieces, and this other piece here, you plug that into there, and then you can plug this back into the back of the shield, and you can see you have a bunch of different options as to where you want to plug that into. You just choose one wherever you want to plug that in, and this just gives you a handle to use this as a shield on its own. So you can have this as a separate shield and lance as 2 separate option parts, so you can use them separately if you want, or combine them with the connector piece we just saw a moment ago. Now the other option part that you can use in place of that here is this part here, which will just go over the arm. So if you had this like whatever mobile suit you have or mecha holding onto the handle here, and then this will be a part that goes kind of up around the arm just to help stabilize that connected onto the arm like that. So that's a pretty cool option to have there as well. That is just on a hinge, so you can very easily just connect the handle and just fold that around the arm like that. And this one as well, you can plug on either the left or the right side. So you just swap the connector piece to the other side and then plug this onto the other side of the handle like that. So you have some cool different options that you can do with this. And then finally, the optional attachment part here. So if you just remove that bit of the lance at the end, you can just plug this gun part onto here instead, which has like a gun and bayonet part. Now unfortunately you're not able to separate the bayonet from the gun barrel. It's all kind of molded as one piece there, so you'll just have to actually physically cut that apart if you didn't want that on there, if you want to have just the gun barrel on there. But as it is, it's pretty cool like that with the bayonet and just the gun barrel on there, although I'm finding it's a little bit loose in here. But I think once you have these two parts, again, just sandwiched together and glued together, you can just add a little bit of glue here at the end just to make it a little bit thicker peg, so that you don't have to worry about this part being kind of loose on there, because as it is, it's not really staying on there super well. But let's go ahead and try this out with a couple of kits, starting with Frame Arms Girls again. Alright, so not going to be too much of a surprise here, but with the Frame Arms Girl kit, it's going to work out very well. This is with the Baihu Frame Arms Girl kit, one that's slightly larger, I think, than some of the other ones, but honestly, the hard thing about this is just choosing a pose. So I went with something pretty basic, because that's the one thing that I really like the most about this weapon, is that you do have some pretty cool options. You have just keeping it as an actual physical lance, or having the gun barrel on the end of there, turning it into like a ranged weapon. You have the shield on there, which you could turn into a separate handheld shield if you wanted to. You can have the shield off of there if you want. You can hold this by the actual handle, the staff handle on there, or you can hold it by the handle there right behind the main thing where it's holding it right now anyway. So you got some really cool options with this, and that is very cool, and that is definitely going to be a great feature of this kit. So here you can see with the frame arm as a vulture, separating the shield and the lance, looking pretty awesome there. I love that option with this. Holding these in the hand, also not going to be too much of an issue with these, although you do have a little bit of an issue at the handle of the lance, near the handle of that at the back end where the staff part plugs into there. It's going to be getting kind of a little bit in the way near the elbow of the vulture. Hopefully you guys can see that on there. That part's kind of like sticking up there a little bit in the way, so I wish they could have designed that in a little bit different way, or in a way that you can maybe move that to a different part. But overall, it's not really going to be too much of a hindrance to the overall look of this. I think it's still a pretty convincing look, and it looks pretty cool. The shield also, the handle, I wish that the separation between the handle and the shield was a little bit wider as well, because it gets a little bit in the way to get the shield flush up against the side of the arm. So it's just the way that it holds the weapons is just, you know, slightly awkward, but really not going to be anything that's going to draw attention too much away from just the overall look being pretty convincing here. Alright, so here for a change, we actually have an option weapon here that is able to be held relatively easily by a 1/144 scale kit, both on the staff and on the handle. The hands of this particular HG kit fit on there, which means that pretty much all HG kits should be able to hold onto the handles of this without any modification at all, which is nice. You don't have to worry about that at all. Now, the one thing you will have to worry about is obviously just the size. It is going to be pretty large, so even if you're holding on to the main handle part of that, not the staff part, it is still going to be a little bit awkward and just in its size, I think, to hold. And also just because of the same issue which I mentioned with the vulture, which we saw a second ago, where the staff part plugs into there is going to be kind of getting in the way a little bit of the handle when you have the near the elbow of the mobile suit. So it's a little bit awkward to get your hand on the handle of that with an HG kit like this, or with any kit, I imagine. But at least you can know for sure that there's not going to be any modification required in order to get this in the hands of an HG kit. You just have to worry about the general size. Alright, and then finally we'll take a look at this with a 1/100 scale kit, and it's definitely going to be more fitting to a 1/100 scale kit, but once again, the problem that you're just going to have is just going to be with the handle. So that's why I have it holding this in this way, because for this particular kit there was just not really going to be any way without doing some magical balancing act to get it to hold it. So it's just going to be something that you're going to have to do some modification to the hands, or use some different option hands in order to get it to actually hold on to the weapon in any good solid way. But that said, the size, the details do match up pretty well. So if you wanted to make some sort of, for example, take your gym sniper here and turn it into like something more akin to the gym striker, which uses the beam lance that it has on there, the kind of double beam lance, whatever, something like that. You wanted to do something like that with this kit, modify it into something similar, something more melee oriented. Or of course you could use this with the attached gun attachment on there instead of the melee attachment. But anyway, the point is that I think with a little bit of modification you can make it work pretty well, and the size matches up pretty nicely, and it makes for a pretty awesome weapon, being much taller than just your standard 1/100 scale kit here with this. So that's pretty much it for the review of this weapon, and hopefully it was once again helpful or informative to you guys if you were looking for something like this. If you do still have any other further questions or comments, do feel free to leave those down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye guys.